All right, welcome to this very different practice. This is an isometric challenge. And I've been talking to you guys about, the importance of isometric contractions. That's a contraction with no movement. And these are really excellent for healing injuries or finding, gaps in the training. If you have students who are very unstable, you'll work with isometrics. If you're working with somebody who's recovering from an injury, you'll work with isometrics. If you're helping somebody develop deep fascial tone, again, I really recommend the isometric practice, and you kind of have to feel it to believe it. And these guys have worked with some isometrics with me before, but we've never done this many in a row. So this is going to be new to them, and we'll just see how it goes. So my plan is to do an isometric hold, and then we'll do some mobilization after each one. Okay, so let's begin. We're going to actually start on our feet with moon pose, so standing moon pose. So organize and activate with your great toes straight ahead, knees are unlocked. We're dialing the feet and knees away from each other. We want to draw the energy up the body, inseams of the legs, pelvic floor, lower belly, lift through the crown of the head, and then we'll inhale, take the arms up. Now, because we're holding it for a long time, I recommend either the hands stay open, or if you have any shoulder grumpiness, you could have hands on head or hands at the back of the head. So you're going to choose a position you think you can maintain for 2 minutes. All right, so I'm going to choose to lace my fingers and just pull them apart a little bit. All right, let's take a big inhale up through the center, and then we'll exhale over to the right side. And now we actually want a subtler engagement here. So often I will tell you, and I'll tell you right now too, you're going to push down into your left foot and pull your left hand away from your right hand if you have your hands linked. Now, otherwise, we just want to feel into our body. We want a nice slow curve. We want to feel the central channel of the body is engaged through pelvic floor, through lower belly, and then up through the crown of the head. And then we need to know that we're staying here for 2 minutes on this one side. So, there's no need to try to go to some extreme end. Just like all isometrics, the gold is in just staying with it. So that's our challenge. So keep pressing into your feet and dialing feet and knees away from each other. That doesn't have to be an all-out effort, just exactly what you need to stay present in this pose. And then you start to go into the breath. So there's much to be learned just staying in a position and breathing. You'll notice that over time, you will start to fatigue, and you'll start to want to get out of the pose. And that starts to be the very sweet spot where you start learning. So it's going to be a quiet practice. I will be talking and guiding, but for the most part, we're just going to be breathing. I do recommend Ujjayi breath. So with subtle engagement of Mula Bandha at the pelvic floor, subtle engagement of the glottis in the throat. Let me just inhale and exhale through the central channel. All right, so guys behind me, I hope you're doing okay. We're going to be holding for about 30 more seconds, and then we'll switch sides. So if you're developing like tension in the shoulders, make sure you can drop the shoulders away from the ears a little bit. Another thing that happens when you hold for a long time is the fascia will, it's not exactly starting to creep just yet, but you'll feel kind of a response when you let go out of the pose, and that's why we're going to mobilize after we let go. So let's just take 2 more breaths right here. Exhale, exhale, exhale. And 1 more. Exhale, and then we'll come up to center, and we'll let the arms come down. So you might have noticed something on that one side. We're going to go right to the other side, and we'll see what we notice there. Let's take the arms up. Preferably, you're going to do the same thing you did last time. Let's go over to the side. Press down into your right foot. Pull your right hand away from your left hand. And then again, you've got lots of time to notice. You want to just keep breathing. Feel what you feel. Notice if your knees really want to lock here. Notice if your belly wants to tip forward. You want to keep it contained, pubic bone to breastbone. Lean into the back body, and notice if your shoulders start gravitating up around your ears, which is entirely possible. So keep drawing the shoulders away from your ears. You want to be using your scapular muscles rather than your neck muscles here. Let the breath flow. Close down your eyes if you feel like you'd like to. This is quite a stable posture, so you can close your eyes and just go in and notice what you feel. In and out. So that's 1 minute. We're going to hold for 1 more minute. So the thing is with isometrics, it becomes a mental game. And best you can, again, like it just depends on how bought into it you are. But here's what I recommend, is you just decide before you go in that you're in for the whole time. Your body won't let you stay in beyond what it can do. So if you absolutely have to step out or change your position or something, then you can. But let your body tell you when that has to be. Your mind is probably going to want to bail a lot sooner than the body. The body is actually up for a lot more than you think. So we're just going into our final couple of breaths now. In and out. Just notice what you feel. This is the moment to do that right now. Is there something that sort of stands out as fatiguing before anything else? Take 1 more breath. And then we'll come up and we'll let the arms float down and shrug out the shoulders. So kind of what you feel coming out of it is just like, and that is great. That's the fascia. So after an isometric like that, I do recommend some mobilization. So we're all just going to, swing the arms. You can swing the legs a little bit. That feels more like an upper body challenge. Okay, and so we want to swing that out. So now we're going to go into a standing twist. Again, just a super juicy, valuable isometric hold. And I'm actually going to turn my body this way so I can keep an eye on the clock. You guys will appreciate that. Okay, so here's our setup. We have our feet slightly apart, parallel. Knees are unlocked. We dial the feet and knees away from each other. And then we'll link the fingers. Now, it's attempting to let the shoulders gravitate up around the ears, so we want to avoid that. There's just a little bit of pulling here with the hands. Inhale, and then exhale, turn. Now, we're going to develop this a little bit further. Press down into your left foot. Dial your left foot out, and you want to get your left thigh active. And now really squeeze your left buttock. So intentionally squeeze, and then intentionally squeeze the back of your right shoulder to the back of your right hip, left hip. So across the back body. And then you're going to pull with your right hand away from your left hand. And then you want to turn your head in that direction too and turn your eyeballs. All right, so now you get a lovely chance to just stay here and breathe and feel this connection from your left foot, your left knee, thigh, hip, buttock, right shoulder to left hip, right arm, right hand. And now let your breath extend a little bit. So you want to have that pubic bone to breastbone connection, but we're still able to take full, deep breaths. Ujjayi breathing. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what kind of mental thoughts and scenarios come up. What do we end up doing? What we find helpful to stay with something like this? And what are the little games that we play? So we'll just be going into our last few breaths now. Again, just notice what you're feeling, what seems to have gotten a little bit tired. Maybe you're getting onto the verge of feeling a little burning or slight discomfort. All right, gang. Let's inhale and look forward, and exhale, let the body return to the center, and then we'll just swing it out again. So this time also, let's just do a little bit of rotation through the spine. So we're really kind of going into a full body rotation using the spiral lines of the body. Okay, let's come to center. We'll get on with the other side. Feet are parallel. Organize and activate through your legs, making sure the knees don't lock, and then we can lace our fingers or link our fingers together. Inhale. And exhale, we'll just take a little turn toward our left side this time. Notice how far your body naturally goes, and then we'll start building. We'll push down into the right foot, energize like you're dialing it away from center, squeeze your right buttock, and then start to draw the back of your left shoulder toward the back of your right hip, and pull your left hand away from your right hand. Looking to the left as well. Use your eyeballs. Again, this is you taking your body actively into the twist. Nobody's pulling or pushing you anywhere. Steady, full breath. Are we still pressing into right foot? Actively drawing left shoulder to right hip. Into our second minute here. Let's make the breathing a little bit more audible. Notice if you start to feel fatigue in the same area on one side as the other. We do use the body differently on one side versus the other, so it's interesting to notice that. And also you can know that this is information your body uses to build. Laying down new fibers, polarizing those fibers, requesting more lubrication. Here's our last breath. So you're going to take a big inhale, turn your head to the front, exhale, and unwind. 2 minutes. 2 minutes goes by fast now. It used to seem like such a long time when we started doing isometrics, but now it's so much better. Okay, let's do a bit of twisting. All right, and we're going to go into our pose that we have named Intense Healing Pose. All right, so we will begin by standing on our left leg. So we get up nice and tall. Remember, tall is where you want to be for a single leg standing balance. If we kind of crumple down, we actually lose stability. So stability is in fascial tension. That's why we need to get super tall. So great toe point straight ahead, heel's going to dial out. We're just going to measure with our other toe and then turn the toe upward, and we begin. So I'm going to recommend the arms just hang. You could let hands be to the hips, but then people tend to try to hold themselves up with their hands. Other alternative is hands in prayer. So whatever you decide. Again, the mental game, the mental discipline is in making a decision and staying with whatever you decide. If you decide to put your leg up super high, then now you have to commit to keeping your leg up super high. All right, so just make sure you're still using your organization and activation to keep you stable. Nice and tall on this hip, nice and tall up through the center of the body. And I just love actually in this pose, just feeling the activation around my hip, around the hip socket itself. And I literally just imagine the tissue being built and strengthened. And then every now and then, you've got to make sure you're still pulling your toe towards your knee so you have some activation in this front leg. And breathe. Into our second minute, well into it. Stay super tall. If you're doing this with a class, I do recommend that you use a timer or you have something to keep the time. And remember, you guys, if you need to step out, you do that. You just come back in. I mean, ultimately, you want to keep coming back until the time is up. But if you absolutely need to step out, you do that. All right, just counting down now into our last couple breaths. Last inhale. Last exhale, and you can bring the foot down. All right, 2 minutes. Everybody knows, you just know, you just did something potent for your hips when you complete that. Okay, let's set up on the other side. It's better to just do it rather than think about it. Great toe. Dial it out, stay super tall. We're gonna measure and let's begin. Pull the toe up towards your knee. Again, don't try and be a hero, bringing your leg up super, super high, because you want to, rather than a hero, you want to be like steadfast. That's what you want to be. You're building strength. You're actually building character. You're building inner discipline. Beautiful. See what you can do to have your breath become even more supportive. What would that look like? I often think about pressing the breath into the tissue. That's how I think about it. Inhale, pulling it in. Exhale, press it into the tissue. Going into our second minute. We're staying super tall here. You can do a slightly more challenging version of the pose by just smiling to yourself the whole time. This is when it becomes true character building. So feel your great toe grounding, feel the sole of your foot, your ankle, your knee, your hips getting hot. Stay tall through center, lift your heart, lift your crown, smooth your breath. Just into our last couple breaths. Take a big inhale and exhale, let it go. And we're done. And we might want to hop it out. So this is why we call it a challenge. It's a challenge. So let's do some really good mobilizations for the hips. So if we can manage it, we'll stand on one leg and just really swing the leg. This is really good because the leg has weight to it and it starts to tug on the hip joint a little bit, causing a succussive action at the joint, which is stimulating for the synovial tissues, which produce the lubricating fluid, nourishment and lubrication. Okay, let's do the other side. All right. Now we will do fierce angel pose. So this one is actually, we're finding this one to be a slight bit harder than intense healing pose. So we won't hold it for quite as long. All right. Super simple pose. We're calling it fierce angel pose. Standing on the left foot first, great toe straight ahead, heels a little wider. And this time we just go toe back. And when we're ready to go, we'll lift the toe off the floor. Okay, so we want to get tall on our standing leg, lift up through center, and you're just going to take the toe just barely off the floor. So on your standing leg, you've got the great toe straight ahead, knee dialing out, super tall on this hip. We don't want to hinge forward here. We want to stay super tall. And then with your back foot, it's just barely off the floor, but that's going to be enough to challenge that hip extension position because we're staying here a little bit longer. So what I tend to focus on here is the lifted leg and just really connecting that leg into the body. And breathe. So we're going to try for 1 minute and 30 seconds here, but maybe I'll let you guys let me know. So we're just about at the 1 minute mark. Okay. Let's try 30 more seconds. I think that seems reasonable. Keep lifting your heart, lifting your crown. This is really awesome because now we get into the place where, okay, I need to get stronger. Every part of your being knows that's what you need right now. And your body is designed to assist you in that. And let's release. Woo! See how happy it makes you when you're done? Okay, yep, wiggle it out. Let's go to the other side. Okay, we're on our right foot this time. I can clearly tell because my left hip is nice and hot. Okay, we're gonna set ourselves up, great toe straight ahead, dialing it out. We're just gonna go back with our toe and we're ready to go. So great toe. I hope if you're watching this, you're doing this with us. I mean, I'm sure this would be very boring to just watch. Unless these guys are making faces, which could be very entertaining, I suppose. So with your lifted leg, you're dialing it in. You're dialing it in, right? You've got your toe off the floor. You're organizing and activating. You're holding. Stay tall. So just notice the body's tendency to sort of want to cave in a little bit. This is where we need to be tall. And again, this is like awakening the warrior within. I sort of think of it that way. You want to, in the face of adversity and challenge, you want to rise, not crumple. We need to rise. And this is a discipline, mental, emotional, spiritual discipline. Breathe. Your breath, you see, doesn't the breath become even more delicious at moments like this? Keep it steady. We're almost there. We're almost there. Let's take a big breath. Exhale. Final breath. And we are done. Great. Let's have a wide stance and let the knees bend, and we'll just shift it from side to side. All right, then let's swing across. Again, remember, we're mobilizing, keeping the joint nice and happy. This is so much better than stretching after something like that. So that might be kind of what you naturally think of, but mobilization is key because of just the effect that it has on the joint. Okay, let's go into our Steadfast lunge now. Okay, so this is just a high lunge, nothing too fancy. We'll work with 2 minutes, which I think these guys won't find that all that challenging. So you might want to do a little bit of heel lifting. If you want to experiment with that, I'll leave it up to you. Okay, so we're going to have the left foot in front. I think if I do this, that will be good. Okay, obviously, great toe straight ahead. Knee's going to dial out, and then our back toes will tuck under, and we want to actually use our back toes. So what we like to do here is let's feel our pelvis, keep the pelvis upright. So this translates to maintaining walking. One of the things that happens, I'll talk after we get started, okay? Give me 2, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we're timing. Okay, let me just do the math here. Okay, yeah, I got it. Okay, so when you're trying to maintain something like walking for humans is walking with long strides. So in order to maintain walking with long strides, what do we need to do? I always say you need to use it or lose it, right? So if you don't use your full stride, walk with long strides, you will eventually shorten and shorten and shorten your stride, okay, to what you normally stride, your normal stride length. So that's very important to understand. So we want to keep our full range available to us. So isometric at this range is going to help us maintain a long stride for walking. So if you're working with people who that's something that they're actually striving to do, especially if you have older adults, then very important. People tend to lose hip extension, which is this position right here. Okay, so you want them into that end range of hip extension. Our fierce angel also helped develop strength in those structures, and this is more about maintaining the range in those structures. So, and again, I always say great toe presses down. We want to use our toes so that we maintain our foot arch and our foot strength and ankle strength. And you'll see this is already, we're getting into the second half of our second minute. So not super challenging. These guys could probably do 3 minutes, but I won't push them there because they have lots more isometrics to do. So we're just going into our last few breaths. And 3, 2, and 1. All right. That was easy, right? They don't want to give away anything right now. Okay. So let's just make sure we're ready for the next side. We're going to have the right foot forward. You're going to find that it's kind of the back leg that is feeling. If you wanted to bring a little more challenge into the right leg, you could lift the heel. So if you want to try that yourself, please go ahead. Great toe grounds, knee dials out. We're going to press into the back toes. And let's begin. So even here, you want to feel the inseams of your legs, right? So this is a little bit like our short foot position too, except in short foot, we would push the weight over the front leg. But can we, with kind of weight equally distributed, can we feel the inseams? So you would do that from your great toe, dial the knee out, and then you can actually keep a bit more activity on the inseam of that right leg. And then to get activity in the inseam of your back leg, you would push through the great toe. And that begins that process. Then connecting to pelvic floor and lower belly. So again, this is a really good pelvic floor practice too, because you can really activate those inseams to pelvic floor and lower belly, and then use your Ujjayi breath, cycle the breath. It's not about developing tension here, it's developing connection as part of a unified whole. And I do believe that that's the best way to train and to maintain function of pelvic floor as part of the whole, rather than a thing unto itself, which seems to be the way it usually gets talked about. Recommendations seem to be very, very isolated rather than part of a system, which obviously is part of a system. Okay, so we're into second half of our second minute and just counting down our last few breaths. Maintaining position, maintaining intention. Final breath. And we are done. Whew. So it's probably the toes and ankles that could use a little bit of attention. So you can just raise the toes. I like to kind of pull on my mat. And then shake out the feet. Okay, so now we're doing something you guys will find really easy, and that's chair pose. Chair pose, super easy. You can basically just have a seat. Actually, let's do, because it just feels like it might be good, let's do a bit more knee bending. So let's just come up and down a few times. We didn't really even warm up for this. We did a little bit of moving around, but we came into it just waiting to see what happens next. So it's just good to move around. Okay, so I always recommend the isometric and mobilization, which is basically what that was too. Okay, let's do a chair pose. All right, let's have feet a little bit apart, I would recommend. You guys can change your mind about that though if you want. Great toes pointing straight ahead, heels a little wider. We want to dial the knees away from each other. And then when you're ready, you can have a seat. You can have hands to hips or hands in Namaskar Mudra. I'm going to opt for this one this time. And keep the breath super steady. Again, you want to choose a position you can maintain here. At some point, you might find when you drop down lower, your butt wants to tuck under or something. So you want to maintain a neutral spine, a neutral pelvis. And then the challenge for you might be your knees might want to gravitate towards center, so we want to avoid that. We're dialing the feet and knees away from each other. Here you could also squeeze heels toward each other if you want. Try to maintain shoulders away from the ears. Very natural. If we start to fatigue, just start bringing the shoulders up around the ears. In and out. This is also a good pose for pelvic floor. So if you can kind of connect the great toe arch of the foot to the inseams of your legs going into pelvic floor and just kind of understand the pelvic floor to just be part of that connection from foot to core. Let your breath rise and fall from there. And we're just going into the second half of our second minute already. This is going by way too fast. Last couple breaths, you guys. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. Yay! Okay, let's actually march it out with the knees coming right up. So this kind of action helps pump the lymphatics, so behind the knee and in the hips especially. The hopping around really pumps the lymphatics in the feet. So that's why we do that. Okay, so now we're going to be on our hands. So just so you're aware, we're going to do a plank. I'm going to suggest we do it from the hands. If you'd rather do it from the forearms, you can do it from the forearms. Okay, so we're going to be on the floor. Oh, and also you could take it from the knees. So if you want to do this plank or you want to do this plank, you guys decide how you want to do that. I'm going to even see if I can. If I fall down crying or something, somebody will take over from me. Okay, let's go. 2 minutes. I seem to remember, like, there's this thing about the 1 minute plank being a big deal, but we'll just see what we can do here. Ooh, this is where it gets quiet. I don't even know how much chatting I can do here. Pressing into the great toes. I want to draw that energy into the belly. Yes, this one makes a person warm. It feels good though to unite the whole body. Feel your shoulders wrapping onto the body. Yeah, this is doable. Yeah, in and out. Just so you know, guys, I haven't been practicing this for weeks or anything. Yeah, okay. Into the second half of the second minute. Yeah, this is where we start to hit the gold right here. Breathe. Don't let the breath go away. Okay, last inhale, exhale, and then you can bring your knees down. Woo, Nelly! Let's come up onto tented fingers. Let your chest fall down. Big breathing. So let's not just stay in one place. Let's rise up and down, up and down. Again, we want to focus on mobilizing afterwards. Great. Okay, shake that off. This would be a good time for Frisky Pigeon. Frisky Pigeon. Definitely called for right now. Okay, you guys know what to do. Let's do the right leg first. I tested this one at home, and I think we're here for about 1 minute. 1 minute, okay? Okay, so let's begin with, don't turn everything on just yet, okay? Okay. Okay, now turn it on. Tuck your toes under, press down into your foot, shin, and knee, and you want to come up a little bit. All right. So we do this one all the time in class, but holding it for a period of time, I haven't timed it, so I'm thinking we can do it for a minute. This is like, again, it's just such deep strengthening for your external hip rotators, which are your major stabilizers of your hips, movers and stabilizers, I should say. We're already in the second half of our minute, you guys, so you can do it. You can do it. You can breathe. Keep your heart lifted. Pull your back toe towards your knee. Pull your front foot forward. Last breath, you guys. Last breath. And let's release. Yay. Let's go into table pose, and we'll just shift the hips from side to side, and feel free to, again, this is a mobilization, so take your body wherever you intuitively want to move it. And then we'll get right to the other side. So this time we'll have the right toes tucked under, and we're pushing into the toes. Let's go just because the timer's there. Otherwise, I have to do a lot of math. So, good. So some things that will help you is you could, within this pose, you could shift your emphasis. Maybe you're pushing forward and back for a little while, and then you can pull in for a little while, but always directing energy upward. Draw your breath in deep. Very short minute. Not quite there, but almost. Okay. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's go back to table, and we'll shift from side to side. Again, so now let's hold table, and we'll just bring the right knee in and out a few times. Again, just as a mobilization. Other side. Nice and easy. Okay, so now we're going to do downward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Okay? Okay? All right. So nothing heroic, just a modest downward facing dog, and we'll do it for 2 minutes. So spread the fingers open wide. Let's take our position. Feet are about hip width apart.
pads of the fingers are pressing down, and we begin. So keep the pads of the fingers pressing down as you dial the hands away from each other. You could even press the hands toward the front of the mat. Give a bit of attention to the feet, great toes grounding, knees dialing away from each other. This feels so good with arms overhead to draw the breath in deep. And arms overhead position, again, is one of those positions we really want to maintain. People lose this. Super important. Keeping strong in the overhead position. It's going into your ujjayi breath. Just feeling feet, hands connected into the core. Close down your eyes if you like. Just stay with the breath. Making sure you're spreading your palm open and finger pads pressing down so that the whole palm across the wrist is being tensioned. It's not sort of just sitting into the wrist. You want to shift some of that into the finger pads. Dial the knees away from each other. Notice if there's a tendency to want to lock the knees here. Let's not do that. And we're just about there, you guys. One more breath. And we are done. Bring the knees down. And let's sit back and we'll swing out the arms. So again, I think a lot of our students are used to having downward dog for, 5 or more ujjayi breath. So that probably doesn't feel super challenging. So that could be an extended period, right? You guys be up for like 3 or 4 minutes probably. Okay, wonderful. Now we're going to go into, we'll do full squat, I think, just because of the order will be better. So it would be great if we could just take a full squat in this position. Let's see how close we can get to that. And you can have your feet wide apart. Yeah, so wherever you can get the heels down will be good. And what we try to do here is point the toes a little more forward and then press the knees out. Yeah. And you'll notice when you press the knees out, you actually have to engage a little bit at pelvic floor. So we want to really reinforce that. Okay, so we're gonna say that we're going. We're going for 2 minutes. And you want to be pressing into the feet. Again, though, if you feel like you really have to get out of the position and come back in, you can always do that. Okay, especially if this is really end range for you. It's not end range for me, so I can almost relax here. And if you wanted to, you could always put something under the heels if you need to boost them up a little bit. But it's also just good to stay with it as long as you can, come out, and then go back in, because you're not sort of giving your body a different option. You're going into that shape, and that's what you're going to practice. So we're already going into our 2nd minute. Knees press out, engage through pelvic floor, so we're not quite in our bottom. And if there's a fight going on inside you, awesome. That is so good, because that is the gold. Pure gold. And these are not positions you can hurt yourself in. Like, you can't hurt yourself because your body will just stop you. Your body will just say, no, I'm out. And, you're not asking it to do something unnatural. You're not pushing or pulling it anywhere. You're just staying with a position as long as you can. A position your body put itself in, and it can take itself out. So we're just about there. We're going into our last couple breaths. And last one. And we are done.
Let's lie back and we will get our legs in the air and shake it out. Shake, shake, shake. So you want to shake it so it seems like your ankles are unglued. Shake, shake, shake. Beautiful. Let's put our feet down on the mat. And we're just going to take a little bridge pose. So again, this is a very valuable back body pose, strengthening for the back side of the body. So this is the whole back chain. So it includes calves and hamstrings and glutes, muscles around your pelvis and your spine. So again, super valuable. Let's press into the feet and lift the pelvis. So I'll give you a bit more cueing now. So great toes are pressing down. Heels will be just ever so slightly wider or directly in line with the great toe. Dial your feet and knees away from each other. You might want to squeeze your heels toward each other. And shoulder blades are just tucked under your body, and you could then push your feet toward the front of the mat. And then just enjoy. Can let your head relax. Just keep pressing into the feet, lifting through the pelvis. Cycle your breath again. Here you could, once again, go for that inseam sensation to pelvic floor and lower belly. Great toes pressing down. Closing down eyes. Feel the pathway of tension through your body. Tension being a good thing. Tension being how your body lifts and supports itself and moves itself around. Stretch the breath a little more. We'll well into our second minute. Breath gets a little bit deeper as the muscles begin to demand a little bit more. Ujjayi breathing. All right, last couple breaths here, you guys. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can bring it down. Pull the knees into the body, and then just rock your body from side to side. All right, so now the good news is we're done our isometrics. So now what we'll do to finish up is some nice juicy mobilization. So we'll stretch the left leg out on the floor and keep holding on to the right leg. Okay, so let's take the right knee and we're just gonna move, cup our hands around it, and we'll just move it inside and outside. You can let your body rock a little bit while you do that. Okay, and now we're gonna we'll just keep the right hand around the right knee, and we're gonna make circles with the knee. If that feels okay, then just stretch your arms out and make circles with your knee. If that feels okay, straighten your leg and make circles with the foot. All right, at some point we're going to change direction. So if you have your leg straight, you can keep it there. If you have your knee bent, you can keep it there. Whatever you're making a circle with, whether it's your foot or your knee, you're trying to be precise with that. And this is going to help you notice some of the more gnarly corners in that range of motion. All right, let's bring the leg in, and now we're going to kick. Good. And then you can bring that leg down and bring the other leg in. Okay, so we're just going to have the hands cupping the knee and just wiggle it in and out. So we're taking it into internal rotation and external rotation. We're not keeping it anywhere for any length of time. When we talk about mobilization, we don't mean stretching. You can explore your edges, but you're not staying in any of the positions. Okay, and then we'll just have the left hand on the left knee and we'll start to make some circles. Okay, if that feels pretty good, you can just stretch your arms out and make circles. And if that feels good, you can stretch the foot out. And we'll change direction. And then we'll hold it up and we're going to kick. So when we kick, we kind of want to actually jerk the joints a little bit. As this again is a technique that stimulates lubrication and nutrition in the joint. All right, and we'll bring both knees into the chest, I think will be the most natural and beautiful. All right, let's just plant the feet and windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Really let the legs just fall over again. This is a joint mobilization, so we're not actually trying to, get somewhere and stay there. We're just going into the edge and coming out. Now we'll do a slightly different technique. Let's come to stillness here. So you're going to hold your pelvis steady just from the muscles inside your body, muscles around the pelvis and the spine and your core. Hold that steady and then let your left knee drop to the left side, down to the mat. Keep your pelvis steady. You might even want to put your hands on it so you can tell for sure. And you want to press that left knee down toward the floor as far as it'll go. Keep your pelvis super steady, and then you're going to try to drop your right knee down as far as it will go to the same side, okay, to the left side, yeah. So you're doing internal rotation with your right hip, external rotation with your left hip. Okay, keep your pelvis perfectly still. Take your right knee up, drop it down over toward the right side. Try to press it down. And now bring your left knee to the inside. So this is, again, we're not doing a stretch per se. We're just letting the hip go into its end range and seeing we can do that independent of any pelvic action. All right, now we're going to go back into windshield wipering again, and you'll notice this time how much the pelvis moves. Do you see how the pelvis moves with the hips? And this is kind of what happens when we're walking, and we should allow that to happen. It's good to explore your end range of the hip joint itself in isolation, but then in operation, it tends to move with the pelvis. And you'll notice the low spine is doing some movement too. So this is more of a low spine action. Now let's bring ourselves into more of an upper spine action. So we're going to take the knees together, feet together, and drop your knees and feet over toward the left side. Okay, so knees and feet over to the left side. You have your both arms stretched wide open. Okay, so let's do some mobilization again. So we're inhaling here. As you exhale, take your right hand, bring it over your left hand. And then inhale, open up, and roll open again. So again, this is much more upper back. Bring your palms together. Inhale and open. Exhale. Now you can bring your head into it a little bit too. So follow your gaze, follow the your right hand with your gaze. So your eyes are going to look right, and then they're going to look left. Good. Let's do two more.
Beautiful. Let's hold it right here. Just look to the right. Take a big breath. Gather through the belly. Come back to center. Keep feet and knees together and let them come over to the right side. Your arms are stretched wide open. Inhale. Exhale, bring hands together. Inhale. Open up. Follow your left hand with your gaze. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Beautiful. One more time. Exhale. And then when we open, we'll just allow the body to sort of fall into place for an extra breath. Beautiful. Come back to center. Plant your feet. And you guys can slide your heels toward the front of the mat. And just go into Shavasana posture. Okay, so that is a little bit different. You could do lots more mobilization at the end, whatever you feel like doing. But that is just sort of showing you this kind of contrast between an isometric hold, which is kind of a fierce, challenging hold, and then going into mobilization, which is sort of the other end of the spectrum where it's just very loose and you're just sort of letting natural movement happen, getting some joint lubrication and nutrition happening, and really letting go at that point of any tension. Okay, so give it a try, or even just a few of those in a class and see how it goes. Thanks so much for checking it out. See you next time. Bye for now.